So, okay.
Published that footage of him back in 2016 to release an Instagram video apologizing for it. So he basically forfeited any right to say that that video wasn't him or it was manipulated. He admitted it. So if that's the judgment of this criminal defendant, I don't think him getting on the stand will do any good, even though the defense has been saying this is all domestic.
See?
All right.
I didn't know.
You gotta
I
get up
didn't,
there, man.
I didn't see that video.
I
I didn't see the video. What he just say? What did he just say?
You might as well get up there, man.
No, he said he shouldn't get up there because he already admitted it. Once you already admit it,
He
you
seems biased. He's biased. He has his opinion,
You gotta get
and
up there,
he's
man.
thinking Diddy should just go to jail. And
Nothing
just-
else to
just
do.
go- Hey, he's
There's
biased.
nothing left but for you to
Like,
get
come
up
on
there.
now.
It's
gotta go
nothing
up
left for you. Listen,
So all right, cool. It seems to me that you believe
No,
that
stay there, stay there, stay
Diddy's losing at this point.
it's not that I think he's lose. Well,
So you feel like most of the people the witnesses that came and the accusers were credible and their stories were like A1 solid.
remember, all you gotta do is just get them to go that way. Yeah. Remember, it's not that difficult.
Is he winning or is he losing at this point?
This is a broadcast saying 50-50 is terrible. You know, that's like podcast 101. You gotta take a side. I'm gonna say Diddy's winning.
I think he's winning. That's why
not by a lot, by a shoestring.
Yeah,
but
remember, they only
it
have
can swing very quickly.
Remember, they
I think
only
as of
have
right
to
now, he's
prove
winning.
2 out of that laundry list of things. Only 2 things they have to prove out of that long list of what it means to be caught in a RICO situation.
He only has to have one person that doesn't believe he's guilty. He has to have reasonable doubt. Right?
All the
Well,
facts
if
are there,
we,
though.
as the American people watching this thing, thinks that this is frivolous.
All the facts are there.
All the facts are there. What's his jury composition? What's the breakdown? Is it men, female? If he has the majority men, he's winning. P. Diddy jury breakdown. I feel like if he has the majority men, he'll be all right.
Who's in who's the jury on there? 12 jurors selected. The jury consists of 8 men and 4 women.
Oh, he's
aged 30 to 74.
He's winning.
What you think? Cool.
He's winning.
What, does that change things?
Yeah,
I think that changes things.
I think it changes a lot.
I think that changes things. 8 men and 4 women.
The team that's going
because
against him,
you know what one of the biggest things
It's
is
not,
this, right?
but it's not 8 black men. It might not be 8 black men that listen to bad boy music.
It's not even.
Let's hope they don't. Let's hope they don't. Let's just say they just are regular dudes, men, right?
Mhm.
And what happens is that, and this is I think this is one of the biggest issues with this, right? Where there are women that have really been in situations, right? And then there's
in basements,
that really going through it, right?
Ain't showered in weeks. Like, yo, you got shorties that's getting jet setted all over the freaking world. 10 apartments, cars, everything like that. Parents' crib paid for. Everybody's getting laced up. Everybody's good. Yeah, she got a blazing nigga every once in a while for him. But come on, let's watch some more of the video. I want to get to.
Yeah, but my point was that once a man sees, like, all right, he could feel sympathy for one of the women that he really believes. Once one comes up and they lie, it's gonna be like, because that's how I think that's how dudes take it in, bro.
Well, you approach it differently. If it's a woman, you approach it on the sympathetic, like how I was saying. I saw my mom's. I was young. I was a victim. You victimize him, younger, and you do that. If you deal with men, then you're looking at it like these are opportunists. This is a money grab. I'm a man that has means. Yes, yo, I'm a little, kinky. You know what I mean? But this
you
is what
really
I like.
on some shit like he need to jump on the thing. So let's jump into another one, man. Let's jump into the
No. Well, there's a little bit more I want to see on this.
Okay, all right.
Let's fast forward to the panel a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah,
domestic violence. I think
was going on was very
consistent with.
Jermaine struggled for years with dental issues before finally finding Nuvia.
Damn,
Listen to what he wanted most after his smile makeover.
Sources, the money flow.
no point invading your privacy in the first place. Matthew, we've spoken several times about this case. Let me just ask you, there's a growing kind of sentiment I'm picking up on from people who are following this, perhaps who know Diddy, who know the music scene, who know the characters involved here, that this is heading from being a sort of open slam dunk shut case for the feds to potentially a sensational acquittal. What is your view of where we are with this?
It can go either way. Good morning, by the way. Here's my position. Without question, they've not proven that there's been any corporation or organization that was organized for the purposes of satisfying P. Diddy's sexual needs. Bad Boy Enterprises was formed, I think, in 1998. And the government's alleging that this RICO statute covers those actions of finding Bad Boy Productions, which I think has like 50 or 60 platinum albums before Cassie even came on the scene. I think that's a horrible failure by them. I don't know if he's walking on everything, but I can tell you I have real issues with the RICO part of this because it's silly to think that when he founded Sean John Jeans, he was really doing that with the knowledge that someday in the future he would meet Cassandra Ventura, and then lure her into a life of voyeurism and swinging and all of the things that went on it. Understanding that right now the jeopardy he faces is based upon the horrendous conduct of what he did to that woman in that video. There's no other evidence other than Cassie in this case. And everyone can sit there and wring their hands and say, oh, you know, poor Cassie. And I agree. What he did was horribly wrong. But Cassie also has opened herself up to a little bit of criticism when she says, it's not about the money, but I want $10 million from the Intercontinental Motel, which starts to make it seem like it's about the money. And as these horrific images of the video kind of become not as hot as they were before, you start looking at facts and you go, wait a minute. He was in charge of her, yet she was cheating with Kid Cudi, who was his former employee. She was cheating with his former trainer. She had her own apartment. She had her own money. And with 8 men on the jury, this case might have been one in jury selection, because I'm telling you, from the people I've listened to and the many of the different people who've spoken about this, I think there's some issues about whether or not this is a proper case for a RICO charge. Start to wondering if the only witness you have and the only charges you have is that he beat up that woman, which he certainly did. But I'm going to tell you one thing, the defense is certainly going to tell the jury, please convict my client of every single charge of domestic violence there is, every one of them, because there are no charges of domestic violence. And so when people start thinking he's going to walk, it's not because he's a great guy. I'm not saying he's a great guy. I've said very clearly he's a piece of bleepity bleep. But you know, that's not what RICO statute was meant for, that someone can say 12, 13 years later that I want you to pay me $30 million. And I'll make this point very quickly. If this case was so strong, it meant that there was a crime before November of 2023. Yet before November of 2023, Puff Daddy wasn't accused of any crime until Cassie's people said, I need you to pay me $20 million or I'm putting this book out. And they didn't put the book out. And all of a sudden the government says, aha, you've been committing crimes for 12, 13, 14, whatever number of years. As the jurors sit there, they think about that. That's kind of a chilling idea that it's not a crime until you don't pay me money. And so I think the reason that Ray J and Suge have that opinion is because that's kind of the upswelling of opinion on the talk shows and talking to people around here.
Okay, fascinating. Ariel Mitchell-Kidd, you say was an attorney for a recent Diddy accuser. You know, I did a sort of straw poll with my team today, which was split male.
Attorney for
and I was
recent
most of
Diddy
the women
so you ready to go.
thought there was a good chance
she
has
money invested in her opinion.
Anything but a loathsome individual who clearly beats up women. And we all saw that with our own eyes from this horrific video. But that is not part of what he's on trial for. And you know, I think as Matthew laid out there, when it comes to talking to the jury, you know, and they a distraction that the eyes are taken away from them because they have to by law, and they're left with just what he's been charged with. At the moment, it doesn't look like this is quite the slam dunk case that everybody assumed it would be. In other words, have the feds just overreached here? Do you think? It's not to say, like I say, that he's not a bad person or a woman abuser, but is he guilty of these charges? Is there enough that we've seen to justify the scale of the charges?
So first, hi, Paris. Nice to see you again. I dropped the kid. I'm only Ariel Mitchell now. So
Oh,
just
I
moving
will-
forward, I'm
Well, my
just Ariel
apologies for
Mitchell.
misnaming you, which
No
is
problem.
the social crime
No,
of our age.
no
I will rephrase that. Ariel Mitchell,
got
please, over to
Boss
you.
Lord.
No worries.
sir.
So I find it very interesting how propaganda works. And I'm watching propaganda occur in real time because there's no way that anybody who is really following the case, who's really reading the transcripts that are coming out from the
But we done
testimony,
that.
who cannot, or how do I say this? Most people don't understand what the
Oh.
proof or the burden
We're
of
just
proof
dumb,
that the
right?
prosecution has to reach in a case like this. RICO has things attached to it called overt acts. So there are certain things, for example, that they have to address. So they have to address in the RICO. So there are certain parts of the RICO and the elements that they have to reach in order to be successful at trial. If anybody is actually taking the time to read the transcripts, which are very long, instead of just reading headlines, they would see very clearly that the prosecution is doing an amazing job, a magnificent job, in my opinion.
So explain
with
exactly
every
why.
testimony.
Give me some
Sure,
examples of why you think that.
So you got predicated acts, right? So there are certain acts that are enumerated in the U.S. Code regarding RICO claims. So the RICO claims is codified in U.S. Code, and then there's predicated overt acts that you have to do in order to further the RICO. So there are things like fraud, wire fraud, mail fraud, other things, sex trafficking, drug trafficking. All of these are part of. You only need one of these things to have a RICO, not all of them, but they are part of the predicated acts that must be shown in a RICO count. So once you set out these things, what was the fraud? What was the coercion? What was the trafficking, be it sex, drugs, or otherwise? They are doing a good job of punching each one of those elements with every testimony. And it's the lineup. People haven't even paid attention to how masterful the lineup is that the prosecution, the AUSAs have put on from the start of the trial with I believe it was the first male sex worker. And then they went directly to Cassie. And Cassie's testimony has pretty much set up the testimony from everybody else who's come after her, and it set up the majority of the elements that was needed for the RICO claims. Now, the only problem I see with this, the AUSAs right now is that they kind of are doing overkill, in my opinion. I think they've already met their burden. I believe they already met all of the elements they need to succeed on a RICO. And I'll tell you here, and I'll tell you first, like I've said this whole time, back in July of 2024, I said Mr. Combs was going to get arrested and indicted, and I was correct. When he did get arrested and indicted, I said that he would not ever receive bond, and he did not. And I'm here to tell you today he will be convicted.